Sermon on the Mount is given to those who fast and pray and give alms to the poor. It doesn't say if you fast, it says when you fast. It doesn't say if you pray, it says when you pray. It doesn't say if you give to the poor, it says when you give to the poor. It begins by addressing people who know their need of grace. Blessed are the poor. The second beatitude, blessed are those who mourn. What does it mean to mourn? Sad, weeping, wailing? So happy are those who mourn. Happy are those who cry. Happy are those who mourn about sin, who mourn about injustice, who mourn about sin in their own life, sin in the world, right? We understand that it is better to mourn over sin than to be indifferent to it. There is a blessedness in grieving over your own sin. It is far better to grieve over abortion than it is to be indifferent to abortion. It's for people who want to live under the reign of Christ. It's for those who are interested in that command that Jesus gives. Your righteousness must exceed that of the scribes and the Pharisees. The Sermon on the Mount invites us to pattern our lives after Christ. Matthew 10:24 and 25. He says, "It is enough for a servant to be like his master." If you look at the Sermon on the Mount and the Beatitudes, the description of the blessed person, what you have is a description of Christ. Didn't Jesus mourn over Israel? "Come to me, all you who are weary and heavy laden, for I will give you rest. For my yoke is easy, my burden is light." And how does it continue? "For I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls." Surely Christ hungered and thirsted for righteousness. The next beatitude, "Blessed are the merciful." Surely that's a description of Christ. "Moved with compassion." Surely Christ is pure in heart. He even was willing to say, "Who of you convicts me of any sin?" "Blessed are the peacemakers." I mean, first of all, he brought peace between mankind and God, above all. But he certainly also brought peace to people's souls, to people's hearts. The testimony throughout the ages of him making peace between former enemies and members of families and people of different backgrounds. "Blessed are those who are persecuted for the sake of righteousness." Surely that is a description of Christ. When the kingdom of the world opposes you and persecutes you, it shows that they recognize you as one of Christ's. Can poverty in spirit be dependence upon God? What you find is the description of the blessed character is a description of Christ, who is the goal of our life. List the traits that you wish you had, or list the traits you wish you had in a friend, the traits you wish your children had. "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will receive mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." It starts with three beatitudes of need or of deficit or of awareness. You see, the person who's poor in spirit, they know their sin. And the person who is mourning over their sin also knows they don't have the right to assert themselves. They don't have the right to demand their due. The starting point is to know that you cannot rely on yourself. That you cannot be good enough. You cannot be strong enough, cannot be righteous enough to make it on your own before God or in His kingdom. Psalm 119, verse 136, "Streams of tears flow from my eyes, for your law is not obeyed." Or the book of James, chapter 4, "Wash your hands, you sinners, and purify your hearts, you double-minded. Grieve, mourn, and wail. Change your laughter to mourning and your joy to gloom. Humble yourselves before the Lord, and He will lift you up." That's mourning. That will mean that you will be meek. You will not go around asserting yourself. Jesus is not saying, "Blessed are those who are shy and retiring and don't assert themselves or don't assert anything." What He's saying is, blessed are those who, when they assert, do not assert for their own selfish benefit, but rather assert for the cause of Christ, for the cause of the kingdom, for the sake of the poor, for the sake of justice, and so forth. You can be a very forceful person and use your force very effectively and still be meek. Likewise, you can be very shy and say very little and not be meek at all, because you use your silence to wound and let people know that you're unhappy with them. You look at the other person, you'll say, "I know exactly what you're going through. I've been there. I am there. I'm no better than you." Mercy. How can I help? If you mourn over your sin, if you really grieve over your sin, if you're truly sorrowful over it, you will want to do something about it. You will strive for holiness. You will eventually be more pure in heart. Most conflicts come from people who assert their own way. You see, if you're meek, you'll know you don't have that much to assert. And so you will be a peacemaker. If you are an honest truth teller and an honest broker of relationships, people will be able to go to you and say, I know you'll tell the truth and help us resolve this benefit. You will not say what the more powerful person wants. You'll not just say whatever the person who's your friend wants. You'll tell the truth. And so people will turn to you to help them make peace. You will influence the world. You will be salt and light, and we've all studied that many times. The basic idea of salt is to retard decay, to keep the world from being as evil as it could be. They will see your good deeds and recognize that this is not something that comes simply from the resolve of a man or a woman. He says, don't think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have not come to abolish them, but to fulfill them. In fact, all the law will be fulfilled. Not one letter, not one stroke of a pen will pass away until it is all accomplished. Not only have I come to fulfill it all, but I've come to command my disciples, verse 20 and following, to exceed in themselves the righteousness of the scribes and the Pharisees. Jesus expects kingdom members to be righteous.